What up, guys? Jason Geiman here, and so tonight I got Kyle Black Welder on. Let me make sure I am.
Yes, yes.
Nobody on yet, but
Oh,
we are here live, and so tonight we're just going to talk a little bit about sales and some things about sales and the way we can get higher tickets and all the good things that go along with sales. And so, there we go. Some people on. All right. So I just wanted to make sure. Yep. There we go. That we are good and that I'm not super loud either, because we'll see how it goes. But so Kyle, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got started pressure washing.
so prior to doing this, I was a manager with a large tire store chain for about 7 years. And this is something that I've actually been doing for a while, like off and on for like family members and stuff like that. And one day, man, I was just at work and just got the bug and just quit my job and started doing this full time.
So how long was you in sales at the tire place?
About 6 years
6
as an
years.
assistant manager.
Gotcha. And what? So you've been doing pressure washing for how long now?
Full time for about 7 months.
7 months.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And do you have a family, or are you?
Yes. Yep. I got a wife and
Awesome.
sorry, man, I'm getting distracted over here on the left because like the the Skype call and the YouTube video are like way out of sync.
Yeah. Don't worry about the YouTube video because it is way out of sync. It'll be way behind. So just worry about the Skype, because otherwise it'll be a little goofy there. So
yeah.
and if I got questions, Jason, you're really hard to hear. I was just getting ready to ask who I can turn me up a little bit here. So I'll turn myself up here. Jason raised up 5 decibels. Okay, I think I raised up 6, but we'll see how that goes. Let me know if that's helped out. Like I say, I got a new computer and I just got it all set up. I actually just got my second screen set up here tonight. And so I had to go through and set up all my pre-screens and everything like that. So I did give myself some more volume here, and we'll go from here. But so where are you located at, and where are you located for pressure washing at?
So I'm in like southeast Florida, kind of on the coast, maybe about 30 minutes from the Space Center in Melbourne / Palm Bay.
Gotcha. So,
which is weird because it's actually a really two very big cities, but no one knows about them.
Gotcha. And so, I'm assuming you got plenty of competition in Florida, correct?
Especially in my area, yeah, there's probably about at least 20 or 25 other full-time companies probably within 15 miles of me.
Gotcha. And so, what was the final thing that made you want to go full-time in pressure washing?
Really, the first drove me to doing it was the independence, obviously. I really enjoy working by myself and being my own boss. And number two, I know this is going to sound crazy, but for a lot of you guys out there, the customer is not always right. I know Cody hinted on that in one chat. And especially being in a giant, corporate company with 1,000 stores, they, after a couple of years, started putting us in a position where the customer was always right, no matter what. And it just got kind of old, being walked on, especially as the assistant manager. I have to deal with that stuff every day. So I got tired of getting walked on for that kind of stuff for really nothing of my personal gain. And then lastly, when I had first started with the company, something that was very important to them that really got instilled into me as a young man was really, number one, integrity. Just operating under just an entire philosophy of always doing the right thing all the time because you should, being clear with the customer, and just near the end, I just felt like in my region that was starting to kind of lessen in value a little bit. So
Awesome.
I just got the bug, man. I just wanted to split off and do my own thing and do it how I wanted to.
Gotcha. And so, when you started to do this, what is one of the things that what was one of the first things that was hard to actually take the jump? What was that fear that you might have had to take the jump of going in on your own?
Probably advertising, like getting business, because fortunately that was really about the only fear that I had, because I had a pretty substantial amount of money set aside, so I was able to, I mean, before I even got a job, I had bought the trailer, the pressure washer, had a surface cleaner. I pretty much had everything ready to go. I just needed the work, basically.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's usually the hardest part. A lot of people think that getting the equipment or even closing sales is the hardest thing. But if we can't get marketing and do marketing, it really in the end doesn't do us no good to do sales or pressure washing or anything else. And so 75 listed pressure washers in Google for Pensacola. There's probably more than that too. That's just what's listed there.
There probably is that. I'm good friends with two people in Pensacola who do pressure washing, and one of them's part time, and he does $1,500 a week with a full time job.
Yep, it can definitely be done. Talking about doing some awesome stuff, I got a cool email from Mr. Nick, Illinois Power Washing, Central Illinois Power Washing, earlier on the way here. And I can hear Kyle fine, but you're really quiet on my end. Well, here, I can bump up some more. Last time they said I was screaming at them. I don't know what's the deal here. But I turned myself up some more here. And so that is Illinois Power Washing sent me a text today, and his original goal was $20,000 by the end of the year, and he doubled that already and hit another one. So we had set we kind of set a goal for him to hit by the end of the year, and it was quite a bit more, and he actually hit it already. So, or he will be hitting it shortly. So that is pretty cool. So with that said, who, what is one of the things that you have done to, or what is one of the strengths you have that you figured out to help you be able to do pressure washing?
Just my experience with sales, particularly the company that I worked for. We had something that we call S, which was the customer experience strategy, which in my region with a couple hundred employees, I was part of the first group that actually got certified in that. So I've always had a good ability to connect with people very quickly and just build a relationship with them. So honestly, like the sales part of it for me has never been something that I've been worried about, which is weird because that's usually everyone's biggest fear is sales, but
so tell me a little bit about the sales side of things on maybe not even so much the customer on pressure washing, but more on even on just sales in general, because sales is sales at the end of the day. I know we had a conversation, and you were like, I don't push all the, I don't write each individual thing down, and I understand that because if you go to some of these tire places, they don't say, all right, you got a valve stem. Some of them do, but your valve stem costs $10.99. And this here, instead, they just say, hey, this tire is going to cost you this much. So tell me a little bit about that experience.
That is actually pretty much exactly the philosophy that we worked on. Because you're right. I mean, a sale is a sale. Really, the most important thing, utmost, your first step in the sales process should be building a relationship with the customer. Anytime I show up to someone's house, I mean, at least for a good 2 or 3 minutes, we don't even talk about pressure washing or a roof cleaning or a house wash. It's, hey, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Something that I have just learned that comes naturally from my job. I always kind of look for little things that we can relate on, and for other people, if they have like your favorite sports team on the back of their truck, just anything that you can do to have a normal conversation with them instead of being the used car salesman, And then after a little bit, you can move it hey, let's go take a look at what you need done, or what can I help you with. But it's just pretty much anything that you do in the process, you want it to pretty much be an open-ended question or statement or anything that the customer could give you like a detailed response to.
You mean you don't want just a yes or no question?
No, you want to avoid yes or no questions like the plague. You do not want yes or no questions. And especially in this industry, I mean, you're basically repeating the same thing every day over and over. So, I mean, within a week, you should be able to figure out how to ask some open-ended questions to people that you're dealing with.
That's a good point, because a lot of times we as humans want a yes or no questions, because that way it's easier for us. But in the end, we really don't want a yes or no question, and so that is something that I always talk a little bit about getting our elevator spiel going, and some of it is what you just said, of getting to know the customer. Who are they? What that kind of thing. And this journey doesn't just start from when we go to their house, or if we do in-person quoting. This journey starts all the way from our website at that point. Our
Yep.
website is the place that, this is a great place to start the sales process of letting them know we are selling their pain point is what we're really selling. We're not selling a clean house. We're not selling any of that stuff. We're selling a pain point. Their pain point is they want their house clean and their husband won't do it. Well, guess what? They're just paying somebody to be their husband. And so, and so when we show up to the house, it's like you said, we build that bond. We go and say, if you got kids, of hey, I got kids, and we're giving that thing of. But in the end, we're going to let them talk. Correct?
Exactly. You want to be starting that with open-ended questions because having people skills is definitely not something that just comes naturally to a lot of people. You have to be able to and really understand what people are wanting, because I can promise you, and I'm sure you'll vouch for this as well, because I know that you're pretty personable and you've probably had a very easy time making connections with people. I guarantee you, if you go to someone's house to quote them on a roof cleaning, if you're $100 more than the three other people who showed up, but you actually listened to the customer and informed them and really made them feel like they actually gained something from your time being there, I guarantee you they're going to call you, not the other people.
So Nathan Brinkler asks, why? Explain why we don't want to use a yes or no question.
Okay, so this goes back to my prior sales experience. The second step in the customer experience strategy was educating the customer. That was a huge part in our business. So I can actually kind of relate this slightly, but different. In our store, we had a board that showed people the tread depth that was on their tires, and we had a little chart next to it that showed how that would, affect your stopping distance in wet traffic. So we would go outside with the customer, inspect their tires with them, come back inside, show them, hey, this is where you're at. This is why it's going to do this for you, and this is what you should do. If you ask open-ended questions, that really gives the customer an opportunity to be educated, which there is nothing that empowers people more than learning something. 100%. So you don't want to ask just yes or no questions, because they're not going to learn anything. And number two, that's giving you even less of a chance to build a relationship with the customer, because if you guys are just saying yes and no to each other for the 10 minutes that you're there, they're not going to remember that.
And that's a good point, because here's the other thing too is when we let them talk, that gives us selling points that we can use at the end of their conversation. We know their pain point. We know what they might be concerned of. Well, if you ask a yes or no question, you're not going to get this information out. If you ask an open-ended question, you might get out that they're worried about you killing their bushes, or they're worried about you doing stuff. And at the end of the conversation, then we can say, hey, we have insurance. So that way, if something happens, and then we take care of that worry that we did that. If we didn't ask that yes or if we just asked a yes or no question, we would have never got that information or that security of knowing what is, what could go wrong, or maybe they had, who knows what their question might be. But by asking open-ended questions, that's a good way to make sure that we are that we're able to get their pain points at the end of that, and we will be able to reiterate that, hey, this is this, this is this, and this is why we do that. That makes sense?
Yeah, and actually, you're hitting on something that I was going to say as well. My suggestion always is throughout the process of doing the inspection with the customer, they're more than likely going to raise some concerns like that, like, hey, what are you going to use to wash my house? Are you going to kill my plants? Are you? I typically like to give kind of short responses to answer to questions like that until the very end, because if you can just drop a ton of very good information all at one time, that usually works a little better, at least in my experience. But I mean, of course, that varies. It can go either way, anywhere. But that's my suggestion, at least. Because at the very end, that's where you can hit them with the laundry list of the answers to their questions.
Yeah. So, what are some other selling points that we might want to hit on that are some good selling points to be able to get higher tickets, to be able to get to that next level?
So, number one goes back to asking open-ended questions. To give you an example, I showed up to do a roof cleaning last week, and the more I started talking to him, I said, well, explain to me exactly what's going on your roof. So we walked around the house, and I let them show me all the streaks and everything coming down, which I already know they're there, but I just want to hear their concerns. So then we get around to the back of the house, and the guy showing me, and he's like, man, you know what, these black stripes are even going down to my freaking gutters. So I told him, like, hey, that's actually not from your roof. That's something entirely different, but I can clean your gutters, too, if you want, and the soffits. Little 2,000 square foot house. That was a $150 upsell to spray some SH for 20 minutes on their gutters and soffits, because I just walked around the house with him and let him talk.
Right.
And he brought it up. I didn't even bring it up.
And that's the best part, is when they open up, and then we upsell house washes and everything else at that point. Greg put, we have to be able to listen. It was hard in the beginning for me to let the customers finish talking, but now listening, I can sell better. And that's 100% true. And one of the things is, tell me a little bit about once you drop a price. Who wins if you open? Who's the loser? Whoever opens their mouth first. If you say it is this much, what do we not want to do?
Man, I actually just talked about this in the Facebook group the other day. So at the very end of everything, you're going to tell them exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it, what you're using to do it, and how you're going to do it. And then you give them the price. And not to get too much into detail, man, but that kind of goes back into what I was saying in that one Zoom call about how I don't like breaking down, well, this is going to cost this, this is this. Just give one price, everything all together. So let's say I came to your house and I'm doing, a roof cleaning, a house wash, and pressure washing the driveway. I'll just kind of do an example of what I would say. So I'd be like, okay, Jason, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out and I'm going to pre- and post-treat your driveway and pressure wash it. I'm going to do a house wash for you, take care of the gutters, the soffits, and I'm going to take care of the roof. The price is going to be $1,200. What do you think?
Oh, and even if you
That's
go,
it.
Exactly.
And you just shut up. Don't say anything, because the first person who talks in the sale after the price is given loses. 9 out of 10 times.
Yep, and that is 100% true. That is why you see good salesmen. Because here is the first thing that your reaction is when they just sit there and look at you. Like, the first reaction is, but something, and that's the worst thing you could do, because at that point you're discounting what you're already. No. You are not secure on your pricing at that point.
And you literally just took the words out of my mouth. You never, ever, ever, ever want to just, I mean, dude, even if you and the customer are standing there staring at each other for 30 seconds, don't immediately discount yourself, because the second you do that, you've just automatically discredited yourself. Everything you just said, you know, when you give them a price and you stick by it and you overcome any of their objections, you're just proving your knowledge and the work that you're going to do. You know, the second the customer says, well, I don't know, and you immediately just take $100 off the bill, I mean, whether people think so or not, you know, the customer pays attention to stuff like that.
Yep. Central Illinois put, Kyle, thanks for the video on plumbing the two machines together. You said not to use PVC. What do you suggest using in the plumb your whole trailer in place of PVC? I just use the 1 inch or 3/4 inch suction or tubing.
Yeah,
I always use.
I'm not sure if he meant. I thought he was talking about plumbing the two machines together with PVC.
No. Yeah, if you're talking about, I didn't even think about that. If you're talking about the high pressure side, obviously you don't want to use PVC. You're going to have to use hydraulic fittings, and not even just black fittings. Use the hydraulic fittings. Otherwise, they will blow apart on you if you don't. So don't use black iron or something like that. You really need to use the hydraulic fittings for that.
Yeah, and Central Illinois, if you go back into that video and you watch, I believe it's like a 43-minute long video. I had to start a new one because my Facebook Live quit working. But I just use jumper hoses, basically, just 3/8 pressure washing hose. I mean, everything on there is standard fittings that you can go to pretty much any store and buy.
So Jack put, you've listened to Dale Carnegie's courses, and that's a good person to listen to because he does have a lot of information. What is the one, win friends and influence others, or something along that line. So let's go back here to the sales side of things. So obviously we don't want to be the first one to answer the question. And then the next thing is, you know, what if they say, well, I need to talk to my husband? What's your response back to that?
Pretty much my immediate response to that, well, I mean, this kind of really depends. If I'm at their house already, I'm slick, man. I'll be like, well, cool, let's go grab him, and I'll walk him around the house and show him too. And if he's got any questions, I can answer them as well. But pretty much, unfortunately, man, if you're hearing that over the phone, probably, I mean, this is just the truth. 7 out of 10 times, you're probably never going to hear from them ever again. Because, I mean, that just, it is what it is.
I don't know about that, because that's the whole thing of following up. And I just did a video on this. It hasn't been released yet. But if we don't ever follow up, following up is part of the sales process. And it is probably one of the most important part of the sales process. Because if we do not follow up, that is huge. I mean, we're leaving money on the table. Obviously, we had to pay money for the lead, or if whatever we had to use to get it. And if we don't follow up with it, that is just stupidity on your part at that point. And even absolutely. If they tell you to go pound salt, you know, don't send me another email, still send them an email 3 months later, 6 months later. Go ahead.
But that's exactly what I do. But I'm just trying to set a realistic expectation for these guys, because, I mean, unfortunately, when they really start getting into it, you're not going to close every job, because if you're wanting those high-paying tickets, not every person you talk to is going to be your customer. But the second that I'm on the phone with someone and they say, oh, well, let me talk to my husband, I tell them, oh, okay, well, hey, are you home right now? Yeah. When does your husband get home? Or anything like that. And I'll be like, okay, well, I'll call you back later today. Or, hey, I'll call you tomorrow. How does that sound? And I will. I'll call them 2 weeks in a row. Because just like you said in that one video about sending out the emails, the majority of the people who finally go, okay, fine, book me, are going to be like your 14th email, you know?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, you always want to follow up. Don't take no for an answer.
Yep, and following up is key, because here's the deal. They think they're going to get somebody cheaper, and usually they might find a cheaper price, but it's going to take them 2-3 a week to get that price, because it's just slow at that point. And going back to the point of, we don't need to close every job. And yes, you're going to hear no. And yes, that's a hard thing to do. We don't want to close every job. If you're at 90% close rate, you're too low. If you're at 80% close rate, you're too low. You need to raise your prices and get them up. And, I heard one of the guys that is probably the king of selling high dollar ticket pressure washing jobs. And, he's like 60% is where you want to be, your sweet spot. So if you're at 90, 80, 70%, you're probably too high. You're probably too low, and you need to raise your prices. And I kind of did a video, was that last week or 2 weeks ago, about the difference of if we raise our prices, we don't have to do as many jobs. We can do way less jobs, and we make just as much, if not more, because now we don't have to pay for. I did it out of 750 jobs versus a guy doing 1,000 jobs because he was 100%. And it's crazy that you can make $225,000 with an average ticket of $450. How do we get that average of $450? By raising our prices. And now I understand in the beginning it's hard to get to hear that no, especially if you're trying to feed your kids your mouth and you're trying to do things. But if you want to, but being a $99 guy, you'll be out of business before long.
Yep. Because you're never going to get taken seriously and get those, really high-paying jobs just doing the $99 house wash for the nice old lady down the street, unfortunately.
All right, so let's go a little bit more through the sales process. Once we get the price to them and we get them, what's your next thing that you like to do to be able to get them scheduled if they're sitting there hem-hauling around? Do you try to go ahead and...
I want to do it as soon as possible.
Right. And are you going to go ahead and give them an opening date of, we have this date open, would you like to book for this date?
Yeah, on the spot.
So.
At least fortunately with me, I work by myself. So my schedule is pretty flexible as far as I'm usually maybe like a day out tops. So at least for me, I mean... There's sometimes I've even rolled to a job and they say yes. I'm like, cool, well, I'll do it right now. Which I'll tell you what, if you can find yourself in that position, that's a good way to sell your high ticket package too. Because when they, kind of give you that look like, I don't know, do you have any kind of discount? I'll look them right in the eyes and I tell them, yeah, my discount is that I can do it right now.
And
how does that sound?
And I do know somebody that sells that way, and I understand that way, but also you got to be careful when we're selling that way too, because sometimes if we're not booked out very far and we're needing work, then obviously we might try to go for a smaller ticket versus going for that higher ticket at the end of the day. So once we get them booked, what's a good way to... Right, let's go back a little bit. What's a good way to talk to them on the phone after we talked a little bit about this, but once we get the information out there, what's the next thing we should be doing?
Trying to figure out when they want us to come do the job.
All right. Cody gave me a super chat. Thank you for that. And if you all are wanting to do training, I don't know how many spots are open. I don't know how many... I haven't heard from him, but this Friday coming up, I will be in Alabama with Mr. Cody from Southeast Soft Wash doing a pressure washing training. So if you want to go check that out, you can either go to pressurewashhelp.com/Cody, or you can go to Southeast. Sale isn't a 4-letter word. You're absolutely right. We never gave many discounts. Now, I know a company that's a very large company. I mean, it's probably one of the biggest bunch of spots open. So make sure you sign up down there. Hey, Cody, I'm about to buy your 31st class, so get on it, Nathan. The one thing that, I lost my train of thought now.
No, I'm not talking about giving them a discount. That's usually my response to people when they want a better price. You got to stand firm. Tell them like, hey, that's my price, and I'll go over everything again. This is my price. This is why. This is how I'm going to do it, and I can do it right now, tomorrow. But this is kind of stuff that you have to have your ducks in a row before you show up. Because typically when I go to quote a house, I'll have my schedule with me and I'll know exactly what day I have open, when I can be there, so I can tell them, like, this is why, I'll do it that day. What do you think? And then going back again to the whole shut up thing.
And so it came back to me. I lost the thought and then it came back. But I know a company that is probably one of the largest companies in Ohio and maybe in the area is PPW. And a lot of people hate on them, but they're a very large company and they have lots of competition. But they are extremely high. They will come in. I got a friend that I was running AdWords for up there, and they will run they will give a price that of like just a 2-story, 2,500 square foot house of $650. And then what they'll do is they'll discount down once they can't close. And then if they get a competitor bidding against them, they'll drop it to like 300, 299, way low. And so the way I understand the reason behind it, because they know if they get that high sale first, they're making a killing. If they come lower, they're still doing all right. But if we can get a high dollar ticket, just think if you could get 3 jobs at $650 for a little 2,500 square foot house wash. Think
Yep.
of that, $1,800 in a day. Who wouldn't want that, right? I mean,
Exactly.
$1,800 a day times that by 5. That's pretty daggone good money at that end of the day. And that's just for a house wash. This ain't counting all the other stuff that's going along with it.
Yeah.
Um, Cody put
Yeah, you know
no.
what?
Go ahead.
They're hitting people with the Macy's sale tactic. They can come back and say, "Oh, I'll take 20% off," and little do they know that's the price that it should have been all along.
Yes,
That's my
and
joke.
that I understand what Cody's saying is most people think that sales is a 4 letter word, and it's not. This is the thing that runs our business. If you can't do sales, this is. And now, don't get me wrong. There's ways to do it to get away. So if you don't like being upfront and talking about it, there's ways that we can do that too. I talk about responsibility quite a bit. It's a great thing. It shows the packages, and you don't have to do no talking. It'll do all the talking for you. And the great thing of it is it's also built in with the follow up, and the follow up will just sit there and hammer them. And so, if you don't like sales, there is ways around it. But at the end of the day, we really got to do sales, and sales isn't one of those things that I think you're just born with. Some people are, and some people aren't. Some people like to talk, and some people don't. And most people in
Yeah,
this business,
that's
there's two types of people in this business. You have the technical side of the business, and they worry about all the pressure washing, and I got this 8 gallon, and they want to tell you everything they can about this pressure washer, and they think this is what's going to grow their business. And at the end of the day, this isn't going to grow our business. What's going to grow our business is this thing called marketing and sales. You know,
yep.
I know some people out there that are doing really well with really crappy equipment. So, all right, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. I'm gonna go back over here to you.
Yeah,
So,
trust
what
me.
what have you found out that's been best for marketing wise for you to grow your business?
Google Ads
Google
definitely
Ads.
has worked for for me, at least in this area. Google Ads has worked the best for me so far. It seems like in my area, the majority of the people who are getting on Facebook are just getting on there to look at stupid neighborhood news or memes. I haven't really gotten too much stuff back from Facebook, but I mean, Google Ads, I probably had 7 or 8 phone calls within the first 2 days of putting them up.
What's another
Two of
thing
them
that
being
you found out that works well too? That you said something in the groups earlier today.
yard signs. Holy cow. If you all follow Jason's videos, he talks about yard signs like no one's business. Just listen to the guy. Go buy the damn yard signs and put them up. They're not that expensive. Trust me.
Yep, exactly. Yard signs is a great way to get business. I've got a guy around here. I don't know if he listens to me or not, but he has plastered them everywhere, and they're a nice sign. They're not the 350 sign. They're probably the $7 sign, and they have plastered them suckers everywhere. And so it like I said, you could make $30,000 to $50,000 a year just on yard signs alone, and that's not even joking right now. And so this is something that you need to be doing, and it is something that it will help you to get going. So you said Google Ads and then yard signs. What about the? Have you done much of getting your reviews and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I'm actually having a problem with that right now because I tried address on my Google My Business account because I don't have a physical location. I don't want to give the whole world my address. So I was trying to change it to see if I'd pop up on maps at all, and they suspended my listing. So naturally, during all this, I don't want to get into politics, but this, BS COVID nonsense, one of the largest companies on earth doesn't have anyone that I can just call and talk to, of course. So I'm going to have to just wait till they decide to get back to me. There's someone actually I want to hit on in the comments. Someone, D-Buck, said he walked away from a job because he gave an estimate for 2 properties and it was lower than most, but he called back and still tried to get me lower than my estimate by $100. Something that you kind of have to gauge in some of your deals, like D-Buck, it's probably good that you walked away from that job because that guy sounds probably like a Category 5 Karen. You're probably just setting yourself up for more trouble than it's worth. Because a person breaking your balls about $100 is the one that's going to find anything and every little thing wrong with what you did and try to get you to come do something else. That's a conversation we could have all night. But
no, and that's a good point. A lot of times your $99 guys and your people that want to sit there and bargain you down to nothing, those will be at the end. They will be the end of you because they will complain like no other. They will make you go
yep.
crazy because they want to sit there and think that they can drive prices down, and they will be the first one to complain about what's going on. And so that is definitely something that is, if you even start dropping, then they want to sit there and then they want to see what else they can get out of you. And the best thing is they'll be like, once they'll be like, all right, we'll just do the house wash, and then they're like, will you throw in the sidewalk? Will you do this? Will you do that? And it's like, nope.
Well,
Nope.
yes, I will, but for more.
Yep, exactly. And this is something too that you really got to watch if you start getting employees, because if your employees will be like, "Yeah, I'll do it. I'll just pay under the table." Well, here's the great thing about that. That's nice and fine and dandy that they did that. But when your employee screws up something, and then you're like, "You never paid for that." Well, yeah, I gave my money to that guy. Yeah, that's exactly right. So we really got to be careful with that. And I mean, I made that a pretty strict rule is if you did stuff on the side, you better call it in because otherwise you get fired from it. Because there was too many times we had gutters get messed up
Yep.
and all different kinds of things get screwed up.
Exactly. This might be looking a little bit too much into it, but my first train of thought, at least on the business side of if you have employees and them doing stuff like under the table, you better be careful with that because if you go to some kind of business and they end up like putting that on their taxes or something, you might find yourself in trouble. So you got to be careful with that kind of stuff, man. I try to not mess around with any of that. This is totally random, but all you guys in the comments, you're spelling Cody's. Oh, never mind. No, never mind. You're spelling it right.
Cody put Megazord
Yeah.
Karen.
I was laughing at that. Yeah, actually, Cody, I really liked your video of the Karen reader. I thought that was a serious piece of equipment for about 2 minutes.
But this is some things that we really got to watch and do and to run a business because, at the end of the day, sales is part of running a business. And if we can't do that, that is something that we're going to have an issue with. And not only sales, but, going through the whole sales process, a lot of times when we're going through the sales process, we really want to, at the end of the day, it's all the little things that add up. And so after, and it's all the little things, and it starts from, like I said earlier, it starts from our website, it starts from our yard sign, it starts from our Facebook, it starts from our Google My Business of seeing pictures of you and your trucks and everything along the line there. And so when this whole process goes through, to make it a nice, easy, gradual process, we want to make it easy and fast, though, at the end of the day. Obviously, we don't want to make it real fast, but, we don't need to ask a lot of these guys to be like, is it, for instance, 1 story or 2 story? Who cares if it's 1 story or 2 story? I can clean a 2 story faster than I can clean a 1 story. So why do I care if I'm asking if it's a 1 story or 2 story? I can look it up on Google, and that's going to tell me what size of a house I got. I don't care about 1 story or 2. Or let's see, what are some other questions that who knows what could be asked? Don't ask the stupid questions. If they're not asked, and then sometimes we get caught up of, I have this kind of equipment and all this and blah, 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 blah. How many people, when you were selling tires, how many people asked what kind of machine you were using to sell, to put the tires on?
Actually, surprisingly, I did get that I did get that question a couple of times, but we're talking about the 1% of the 1%.
But how many times did you just sell them the tires versus we put them on using this state-of-the-art Craftsman snap-on machine?
Yeah, exactly.
And so when we got
into a conversation with someone on the Facebook group, getting the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. You're there pressure washing. They don't give a shit about what you're pressure washing with.
Yep.
You're there to sell your service, not your equipment.
Yep, exactly. And so these guys go down the road of saying, it's okay that we use soft wash system, a little bit of that. They don't care what kind of machine you got. They don't care any of that stuff at the end of the day. What do they want? They want good service, and they want you to clean their house at the end of the day. And that right there is very important. It's one of those things that if we can move through the sales process nice and easy and get through it, you will knock it out of the park. And some of the things that are along this sales process is asking for a 5-star review. Hey, I'm a small business and I need this right here. At the end of the day, this 5-star review, those 5-star reviews could be better than freaking a referral, because they will tell people how well you are, and he did such a great job. Johnny did such a great job, and everything along the line when we're doing this.
I've actually got my own process for how I go about doing that. Let me see if I can find one on here that doesn't have someone's address all over it. Well, just to give you an idea. So, I have a planner that, anytime I go do a job, I put their name, their phone number, blah, 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 and I can kind of use this as what did I do previously. After 3 days. 3 days after I do a job, I call them. I say, hey, how does everything look? And, of course, this goes back into the building the relationship thing. If there was something that we chit-chat about, I'll be like, hey, how's, this, blah, 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 blah. Just make sure everything's good, and at the end I say, hey, would you mind leaving me a 5-star review? I'd really appreciate it. And I've never had anyone tell me no.
Right.
And then I don't know your take on this, but I feel like a very important part of the reviews, especially the Google reviews, is responding to them. I always respond to them.
Yep, absolutely, 100%. That's one of the best things you can do is respond to those keyword and be keyword heavy when you're responding to them. Hey, thanks for allowing you to let us wash your house, blah, 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 blah. Because these are some things that you can look for the next time you're Googling something in the map section. Look where people put a response, and it'll say house wash stuff. And guess what? Our goal is to take up as much landscaping on that front page as we can of Google. The more we can take up of Google on the front page, the better off we are, period. Period.
Yep. Nathan right here asked if I provide receipts. Most people, especially residential, don't care about a receipt, but you should always offer them a receipt, even if you're just going to send them an invoice with like the Square app or something. Always offer them a receipt. Ask them if they want one.
Yep.
Because when you go to a legitimate business, you get a receipt. So,
Yep. And so definitely make sure we're following up. We've sent out, and actually I put it on Tix. It sends out 2 follow-ups. It basically says, hey, we're seeing if you're happy, and if you're not, respond to this email. And if you are happy, go to this link here, and we give me a 5-star review. And so that is part of the sales process at the end of the day. But again, it's all the little things that go a long way. I've heard phone calls before, and I've been in horror of how bad these phone calls sound. Get it down and have it in a nice, just bam, bam. We moving it right through, and it goes down as simple as this. I used to have a guy, and they'd be like, "All right, thanks for calling." They wouldn't even say, they'd be just like, "Hello," and you're not even mentioning nothing. First off, say your name, and then say who your company is. That way, they know if it's not a pressure washing name, at least you're saying the company's name. And then,
yep.
how may I help you? And then don't just say. So the one I had, he would be like, what's your name, email address, and phone number right off the get-go. And that's like going out on a first date, not even getting to the dinner table and just sticking your tongue down their mouth. Let's break it down a little bit easier. It's like a date kind of at the end of the day. All right, ma'am. Thanks for giving us a call. So I'm going to need your name, and I'm going to need some I'm going to need some information so I can give you a quote. Da 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 da. All right. Please tell me your name. Okay. All right. And what's your address? And just go one step right down at a time. And this way, we're not sitting there. Give me your name, address, email, phone number. Everything about you. Some of these people, they don't know who you are. They don't know if you're a fly by night or not. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, they don't want to give you all that. It's funny that you bring that up, actually, because that was something that was very highly monitored at the job that I just came from. They would actually pay people to call the stores and literally track our progress. Like, hey, did they do this? Did they do this? Did they ask this? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's insane how much the emphasis they put on it, because it really does matter. You should always pick up the phone. I mean, for example, for me, if someone calls, I pick up the phone. Hey, hello, thanks for calling Complete Pressure Solutions. This is Kyle. How may I help you today? How annoying is it when you're trying to call like a parts store for something and they just pick up the phone and they're like, AutoZone. It's super unprofessional, man. That goes back to the professionalism aspect of it. Yep. Every little thing makes a difference.
That's exactly right. And so, talking about that, just the little things will add up. But I know I've been talking a whole lot here tonight, but
that's all right.
But it is good, because honestly, I think this is where some people really struggle. And I understand some of them is, they struggle on the hard side of getting business first off and getting the phone ring. And that is a hard thing to do, is to get the phone ring. But this is the next part of the process. And so, getting your phone to ring is probably the hardest thing you will ever do for pressure washing. It's not harder than, any job that you do or any of that kind of stuff. But getting that phone to ring is very tough to do. But once we get that phone to ring, this is very important for us to walk down this customer journey, because that customer journey is what's going to make or break you. That customer journey is what's going to say, hey, ask your neighbor, or all the different things that go along with that, and to be able to get more money out of our jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. I know a lot of people really aren't comfortable with sales, but again, like you said, the most important thing is just following through the whole process. It's not a 4-letter word. Just like get the phone ringing. I mean, it's a pretty simple equation, man. Just show up to the person's house, build a relationship with them. Don't be a robot. You're a human being. You're there to sell yourself too. Show up, build the relationship with them, and always, I try to do this as much as I humanly can. If I go and look at a house in person, I don't really like that whole, oh, I'm not home, just go and look. I want them to be there. I want to walk around and look at it with them, because I can get a better expectation built of what exactly they're looking for. So build a relationship, do the inspection with them, explain what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, why you're going to do it, and why you're better than anyone else at doing it. Give them the price. Shut up. That simple.
Yep, it is that simple. And when once we get the price and get to that, we definitely need to shut up. If you don't learn nothing else, learn that right there. Especially if you're going to go in person. And I know some people go in person. I know some people that don't go in person. And it's one of those things. Can we get higher tickets and can we get probably a higher close rate by going in person? Probably. Can we get can we spend a lot of time going in person? Yes. And going
Yes.
back to that is, and when we set up a time appointment, don't be late. Don't be, because that's going to set them off right in the very beginning. If we're going to give them a time frame, give them a 30-minute time frame, give them an hour time frame, and don't be late unless you don't want the job. I mean, be
Yep.
on time, and that's very important.
If you're not 15 minutes early or 15 minutes late,
Yep, exactly.
don't be late.
Yep, exactly. So we definitely want to be on time. How do you convince them you are better than everyone else?
Answer that. By educating them. That is number one, man. I promise you, Jack, that 99% of the people out there spraying water, they do not educate the people that they talk to. They just come out, they take a look at what they're doing, and they say, okay, I'll do this for this. People like to be educated. I promise you, people like to learn things. Even if it's something stupid, just walk around with them and give them the time of day and explain to them what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, what you're going to do it with, and why you're doing that and why it's the best. I mean, it's really that easy, man. It really is.
And this is another thing we can start from the beginning on our website. This is things we can do on our website. This is some
Yeah.
things that we can do in Facebook posts. This is some things, Mr. Rob Anderson, he does all his business out of Facebook. And what does he do? He's educating his customers, and he's doing a lot of free give me things to the community. And guess what? People love that stuff. Oh, look, he cleaned our sign. It was so dirty. I couldn't stand that sign. Well, who do you think they're
Yeah.
going to call when they need somebody if he shows up? Rob,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, exactly. Um, I guess that's an iffy topic about doing some kind of community stuff. But I guess I'll have an answer in a couple of weeks on how that goes because I have a police department pretty close to me, and I'm actually going to go talk to their chief in the next day or so because I'm going to go do some stuff there for free for them.
Yep. And you can get stuff off of it. If you're not busy,
That's good advertising.
it's good advertising, and some people love the police and some people don't love the police, and so just depending on your area, you just might have to watch that. But I know Mr. Jason right up the street from you did his police department to get some, and this is something too. Is if you can do it, it's a good way to get the media behind you. If you can get a TV station behind you, then that's even better. I know people that are still cleaning the playgrounds. That was a big buzz there for a little while, but it kind of died off. But they're still got germs on them. They still can be cleaned, and it's not that hard. It don't take that long, and it is one of those things. So,
Crazy. I might have been born yesterday, man, but it was really early in the morning. Of course, I'm going to put some signs up.
yeah, exactly. But yes, and we're not going down that road. But yes, 5 Pro Wash. uh,
Deep.
but
Very
again,
good. Right.
so we're getting at about the hour mark. I'm not going to keep you on here all night. What is some advice that you give a new guy, especially you kind of just started getting off the truck? What would you give a new guy advice of getting off the truck? Or I'm sorry, not getting off the truck, going full
Sorry.
time.
My first piece of advice, at least as of now, would be to start working on your tools for marketing. I really wish I would have known that in the beginning. because that would have made my business a lot more successful, a lot more quickly if I would have realized how important the marketing was up front. But that should be number one. You should be working on your marketing strategy, how you're going to advertise your business cards, etc. And then, actually, I want to go back up to a comment that Cody put on here because it is a pretty good explanation of kind of what I'm getting at. He said, brand recognition, seamless customer experience, social media vetting, professional presentation. So many subtle things drive close ratios. After your marketing, those should pretty much be the things that you want to work on first. Your brand recognition, your seamless customer experience, that's number one, in my opinion, is the customer experience, because you're nothing without the customer. And social media vetting, I mean, there's not really a whole lot. I mean, we're not doing brain surgery. At the end of the day, we're spraying water. Yep. So a lot of it really has to do with yourself and how you present yourself, and that's really the advice that I give anyone just starting up is, I mean, don't be scared. Take chances. You're starting this journey full time for a reason, so grab it by the horns, man, and just send it. I know it's very eloquent advice, but
Jason put on there, look legit when you do police stations. They're watching. He just did one the other day. So, Mr. Greg, you're asking about Chamber of Commerce. It is a good thing to do. It is, again, it comes down to networking. Networking is a good thing to do. And so networking is a great way to get business. And the Chamber of Commerce is full of people that, are business owners and all kind of stuff like that. And so networking, and again, you never know which card might be that $10,000 business card or $100,000 business card that you give out at one of these places. You never know. It could be somebody that has who knows how many properties and they want them all clean, and just so happens you're there. And so, we got to make sure that we are, hitting those. I always did the apartment association. That's another one that is a great networking group. BNI group is a good networking group. BNI is good, especially if you suck at sales and you're not a very talkative person and don't know how to talk to people. BNI is a great group to join, so that way you can go and learn how to and just get comfortable. Just get comfortable talking to other people, other professionals. And if we don't get comfortable talking to other people,
Crazy Bill.
Yeah, he's my brother, so.
Have weekly habits for marketing. Yeah, good point.
Yep, and I talked about that the other day. Have weekly habits for marketing. Make sure that we are posting on LinkedIn. Put a thing on Google Calendar every Monday. I'm going to go in LinkedIn. I'm going to like 3 posts, comment on 3 posts, and I'm going to try to find 3 new property managers.
I can't. I'm so bad about going on LinkedIn, man. I need to make a reminder for myself for that too.
But LinkedIn is a wealth of information. LinkedIn is probably, you can make $100,000 a year off of LinkedIn if we use it right. I know the guy right down the road from here. He's already made about $65,000-$70,000 off of LinkedIn. And he posts 3 times a week, just a short video, and that's it. And so, there's different ways that we can grow our business. Now, which is the best way? Well, what's the best way that you're comfortable and that you're going to do it? If you try to do everything, you're not going to catch nothing. You will catch, because if we throw out 50 poles, by the time we get to the one that the big fish is on, it might have gotten away by then. If we focus on one pole, focus on our bait, we can focus that way. And so, I had mentioned Rob Anderson earlier. He is probably the king of Facebook that I know who's made the most money off of Facebook and Facebook alone. And, how does he do it? If you watch his channel, he's doing it every day, several times a day. But that's how he's growing his business, is through Facebook. So, find that one thing that you can shake the tree to get it down, and shake it as hard as you can, and just take everything you can when it comes down. So
Absolutely. I do also like your point on networking. That is a huge thing that I take advantage of in my area. You bet inside my truck I've got business cards for probably 20 or 30 businesses. Random ones. I don't. Do you have True Value in your area? It's like a hardware store.
yeah, we got Ace Hardware, which is kind of the same thing.
It's kind of the same thing. Yeah. You know, True Value, for example. I just went in there and was talking to them. Made friendly with them. My business cards are on their counter.
Yep.
I can tell you, I had a job referred to me last week from another pressure washing company. I'm telling you, man, networking works. If you're recommending other businesses around you and you're friendly with them, they're going to give you business too. And that goes more into getting business because I promise you, if you are good friends with other people who own successful companies, what's that old saying? You only ever be what you surround yourself with.
The 5 people you around.
It's never a bad thing to be friendly with people who own successful businesses.
Nope. And that's the thing. You never know who's going to be that successful business that gives you a lot of business. You never know.
Exactly. You never know.
So, all right. If like I said, if you want to go to in-person training next Friday in Alabama, Road North, Alabama, go check out pressurewashhelp.com/Cody with a T. And if you don't want to go there, you can go to southeastsoftwash.com and look up the training and go through that way. Both links will take you to the same spot. pressurewashhelp.com/Cody will also take you there. You also, if you're looking for training, go to pressurewashhelp.com/training. And in there, I go teach everything about training. I'm supposed to be doing a live next Sunday with a Zoom call. It's probably going to change because I'm still going to be out of town. Maybe. I don't know yet. So definitely check that out right there. If my pressure wash didn't help in person, I haven't really put anything up there. I will be putting dates as soon as I find some stuff out of some training in some local areas and all the stuff like that. Hope you all have a good night and hope you all enjoy your weekend. And I'll see you on Thursday night at 7:30. I'll be doing a live with Christmas lights, and then I'll be doing a live with pressure washing again at 9 o'clock. See you then.